In this video, we're going to go over the conventional deadlift, from stance to grip width to your setup and everything you need to know. If you're someone that feels that their conventional deadlift is off, or maybe you are feeling that you are pulling a little bit too much with your lower back, then this video is for you. My name is Kyriakos and I'm the 5 times national champion in Cyprus in the 93 kilo class and also powerlifting coach at Strength Blocks. So let's get into the tutorial. For this tutorial, we're going to start from the bottom, how to set up your stance for the good conventional deadlift. So the first thing you have to know is that for the conventional deadlift, we are looking for a flat shoe that doesn't have a fat sole. And in this way, you are staying as close to the floor as possible and you are having as little of range of motion as possible. For the deadlift in general, squat shoes are not that optimal because you are lifting from an elevated foot and that will cause you to lose your balance. This is not very optimal and not very common, so let's stick to flat shoes. So for the conventional deadlift, usually where we want to start is at shoulder width with the feet pointing straight forward. You can choose a stance where the feet are pointing slightly outwards, but usually this might not be as good because you might lose some tension in your glutes and in your hinge. So I prefer to teach the conventional deadlift with straight feet at around shoulder height. Some people can lift wider, some people can lift a little bit more closer together. But for me, the most optimal would be at around shoulder width, a stance where you can put force into the ground. Usually it's the stance where you can produce the most force, the stance where you find the most comfortable when you are going to do a jump. And that should be around shoulder width, maybe slightly outside. If you are too wide, your arms will be at an angle. And this way, you are increasing the range of motion for the deadlift, and that makes the lift harder. If you are going too close, you won't be able to hip hinge as much and you are putting way too much on your quads. And in that position, you'll have to round your lower back. And that is also not very optimal for the conventional deadlift. There are, of course, some outliers, some very high-level lifters who are lifting with a very close stance. But for 99% of people, I would say that the best stance would be at around shoulder width or slightly outside, where you can point your hands straight down. Okay, now that we have found your stance, let's talk about grip. The grip you want to take on the conventional deadlift and in deadlift in general would be at straight arms down. This will give you the least range of motion possible and you can also get into a good position. If you grip wider, you can get away with slightly more upper back tension, but you're increasing your range of motion. So if you find that a wider grip is in general a little bit better for you, you can do it, but don't overdo it. Don't go into a snatch grip deadlift. Just slightly at a diagonal angle should be fine. There are 4 ways you can grip the bar for the deadlift. First one is a double overhand, which is the weakest grip, and it's always the limiting factor, so we want to avoid that. Then we have the mixed grip, which is usually used for the conventional deadlift. And then we have the hook grip, which mostly used for sumo and sometimes for conventional. And then we have deadlift with straps, with double overhand. That should be used when you are lifting hook and use it for volume so that you don't burn out your thumbs. I wouldn't advise you to do mixed grip with straps. If you're doing mixed grip, you want to do only that so you can strengthen your grip too. And I would use straps only for volume and high rep sets if you're using hook grip in competitions. If you want to learn how to hook grip, we also have a tutorial. You can check it out right here. And you can learn how to hook grip in 7 minutes and implement it in your training. For the people that are doing conventional deadlift with mixed grip, this is a bonus tip. You don't want to set your grip too high up in your palm because when you start the pull, it will pull you down anyway. You want to set the bar around here. And if you have enough grip strength and shark on your hands, you will not drop it. You want to start here because that's the position that you will be pulled into anyway when you start your reps. So a few things you have to know about the conventional deadlift is that the deadlift in general is a hinging movement, meaning that you have to use your hips. And for that, we need 3 steps. First of all, we need to learn how to engage our upper back. Second, we need to learn how to slack. And then we need to learn how to hinge. When you are engaging your upper back for your deadlift, you want to aim for upper back tension. In these cases, a straight upper back or an upper back with a little bit of rounding should be fine. At this point, I want to know that lower back rounding and upper back rounding is not the same. Upper back rounding may help you a little bit to build tension, but lower back rounding will get you into a weak position and sometimes, if you don't have enough tension, a dangerous position. When you are building upper back tension, you want to bring your chest out and rotate the elbows so that you engage the lats. And what you do not want to do is to retract your shoulders up. This will not only increase the range of motion, but it will also bring you in a very inefficient position where you won't be able to pull the slack out of the bar and get tension. Because if you pull your shoulder blades together, when you're starting your pull, the gravity and the weights will pull your scaps down where they should be. It's good to learn how to build upper back tension from the beginning. If you don't feel your lats a lot, you can also try to push your shoulders forward while keeping the chest high, and then you want to rotate the elbows, and that way you might feel a little bit more tension in this area and here, and you'll know because you'll feel that your upper back is getting tight. A very good cue I like to use, I learned from the Australian strength coach, is that you can think about trying to bring your ears as far away from your traps as possible, and this will help you get into a good extension, help you open up the chest and build the upper back tension. So now that we have upper back tension ready, the next step will be to learn how to brace and how to hinge so that you can learn how to build total body tension and pull the slack out of the bar efficiently without going too much on the lower back. To brace for the conventional deadlift and in deadlift in general, you want to breathe into your belly. You can do that in a few ways. First way will be that you breathe in through the mouth. This helps you push the air more into your belly. You can breathe into the mouth, expand your belly, push your belly button forward and push out to the sides like this. Expand your belly and contract like you're about to take a punch. So if you want to use a belt for the deadlift, I would recommend it. It might help you out, get a little bit more tension, build a better brace and lift more. So if you are wondering how to put on your belt, where you put your belt is mostly preference, but a good starting point would be that you put the middle of your belt above your belly button, so it's around the middle. Some people like to put it more near the ribs. Some people like to put it lower, but what you want to do is to put it as tight as possible so that you can brace and you can fit 2 fingers inside of it and it's snug, doesn't move during your lifting, and you can brace effectively. You can push your belly out. You don't want to put the belt so tight that it's pulling your stomach in and you can't push your belly out and it's contracting you. This is too much. So you want to find the setting where the belt is snug, it doesn't move up and down during lifting, and you can push your belly out effectively. And in this way, when you have everything tight and your upper back tight, we can get into the hinge. There are 2 ways you can learn how to hinge. There is the top setup for the deadlift and the bottom setup. The top setup is usually easier for you to brace because you are not in a crouched up position, you are standing straight. You have all of this space available so you can start breathing. And it's also good if you don't need to spend a lot of time in the bottom position and you can maintain the tension in your upper body. So how to hinge and get into the deadlift from the top position. So you breathe at the top, you keep your chest slightly out, and then you push your back back. This is important. Do not come down from the upper body like you're leaning over to pick up something. Think about having the chest out and trying to push your butt as far back as possible. And then when you are in this position and you're holding your brace, you bend the knees to reach the bar, you grip, you engage the lats, and then you start your deadlift. If you are going into a bottom position, this is good for lifters, maybe lifters who need a little bit more time in the bottom position, like lifters with big bellies. What you want to do is you want to come down, push the hips back, bend the knees, come to the bar, and then when you're here, you want to breathe in your belly and brace, and then you want to engage your upper back and start the pull from here. So the difference is, the first one you set up from the top, the second one you set up for the bottom. What you want to, you can play around with both and see which builds up the most tension for you, and then you can decide which one you'll use in the long run. Now that we have the top and bottom position, let's talk about the next step, which would be the slack. This is one of the most important steps so that you're getting in a good position for the conventional deadlift and also help you finish with a strong pull. So to pull the slack out of the bar, you either do your top setup or your bottom setup. What's important is that you keep a good brace and then you come down and reach the bar. You want to think about, like I said, bringing your ears as far away from your traps as possible while keeping some tension in the bar. You can hear this when you're doing it correctly. For the conventional deadlift, if you want to learn how to hinge effectively and use your hips, you want to keep some more tension on the outer side of your foot and a little bit and more pressure on the front, so front and side, without the heel leaving the floor. And this way you'll be able to pull out your knees and use your glutes more and make it a hinging movement and not a lower back movement, a spine day movement. So what you want to do is keep pressure on the outer side of your feet pointing straight forward, pressure on the outer part of your feet and in the front and on the heel. So you want to brace, do your top setup or bottom setup, come down, grab the bar, and at that point you want to brace. You want to think about pulling your ears as far away from your traps as possible, and here you'll need to start pulling on the bar while keeping pressure on your feet. But it's important that the bar doesn't leave the floor. If you have enough weight, it will not leave the floor, and you want to start pulling a little bit on the bar. You'll start to feel tension in your whole body, and then bring your hips slightly down, knees against the arms, and in this position you want to start the lift by pushing the floor away and then finishing it with an extension. So push the floor away until the knees and then extend the hips. You can think about the deadlift as first a leg press and then a hip thrust. It's like a two-part movement that goes together. You want to keep a tight back and start the lift by pushing the floor away from you. So you want to think about pushing into the floor while keeping pressure on the outer sides of your feet and on your toes. So what's really important, if you're doing this pull, because you are in a mixed grip position and the underhand bicep is more vulnerable, you want to pay attention to how you build your tension in your arms. You don't want pulling too much with your bicep. You want to have straight arms, extend and make your arms as long as possible. You can think about flexing your triceps a little bit so that you get straight arms like this. And you want to get, in this way, you'll get as little range of motion as possible and also protect your bicep from a bicep tear. So for the deadlift in general, so when you're setting up your feet, you want to stand over midfoot. If you're a lifter that feels it too much in the lower back, you can maybe try and putting the bar a little bit more forward, just so that you can build a little bit more upper back tension, maybe learn how to hinge. But in general, you want to find a position above midfoot where you come down, your shins touch the bar without pushing it away and pushing it in front of your midfoot and making this lower back movement. If you are a person who has a bigger belly and their center of mass is slightly more in the front, you can use the bar, set your feet a little bit slightly in front of midfoot. But in general, what you don't want to do is to directly stand with the shins touching the bar. In this way, you'll have to come down and the shins will push the bar in front of your midfoot. And this will make the bar drift away from you and make it too hard on your lower back, and you will lose all tension and your hinge. The bar is over the midfoot, and the next step is that the scaps, this part should be above the barbell. That's where the balance is. If you're a person with a bigger belly, you might need like bigger belly where your center of mass is slightly more in the front. You might need to pull the shoulders behind the bar, but for 99% of people, this part of your shoulders should be above the barbell when you're stepping up. And that way you'll be able to have an efficient pull and not get out of balance. If you have your shoulders too much in the front, when you start the lift, the bars will swing away from you. If you have them too much in the back, you won't be able to hinge properly, and that will make your deadlift more difficult. For the conventional deadlift, you need to find a position where the hips are not too low, so that when you start the pull, the hips shoot up and you are getting the whole load on your lower back, or that they are too high so that you're also pulling with your lower back. You want to find a position where the hips stay around at that position when you begin the pull. And you can find this position when you are at the top with the weight. You can push your butt back and then bend your knees until the bar touches the floor. And that should be your hip position, and you should be able to pull from that position. For the top-down deadlift setup, what you can do is to do that after every rep. So after every rep, you can push your hips back with the chest out, with a good brace, and then bend your knees until the bar is at the floor. And then you can hold them to that position. You can imagine that you are placing the barbell on glass and you don't want to break it, or you are thinking that your gym does not allow loud deadlift and you want to deadlift silently. And that way you learn how to find your starting position and keep the tension between your reps. And that will also teach you how to hinge. So when you're at the top, you can push your hips back first with your chest out and then bend the knees until the bar is at the floor. Hold that position slightly. You can maybe think that you are hovering the bar at the floor, so it's slightly touching, and then start the next step with putting power into with putting some leg power like a leg press, so pushing with your feet away for the next rep. Rebreathe at the top, and then go for your next rep. So it's really important for the conventional deadlift, for the sumo deadlift, that you keep the back close to you. Maybe you can think about that the bar is scraping your shins. This is really important so that you don't lose your balance when deadlifting and you have the most efficient deadlift possible. So this was a short tutorial on the conventional deadlift. I hope I covered everything for you. And if you have any more questions, make sure you send me your deadlift videos or your questions on Instagram. Make sure you drop a subscribe because it helps us out put out more videos. And if you found this video helpful, make sure you drop a like and I'll see you on the next one.